You need to see this right now. What I'm about to tell you hasn't hit the tickers at Bloomberg. It isn't being whispered in the hallways of the New York Times, and the talking heads at CNN are currently reading from a script that was outdated 3 hours ago. The world as you knew it, the world of undisputed American naval hegemony, just ended. While you were going about your day, a geopolitical earthquake occurred in the Strait of Hormuz, and the mainstream media is scrubbing the narrative as we speak. The truth is harsher than anything you'll hear on the news. The U.S. seized an Iranian tanker thinking it was business as usual, a standard flex of the rules-based order. Iran reacted with its usual swarm of fast attack craft, but what China did next, the move they made 3 minutes ago, changes everything. It's a move that has effectively checkmated the United States Fifth Fleet and placed a terminal date on the American dollar. Look, I've spent my life in the trenches of military intelligence. I've sat in the booths, I've analyzed theater-level movements for the Soviet Union, and I've been the one on the ground inspecting weapons of mass destruction when the elites were busy lying to the public. I know when a narrative is being managed. I know the smell of a cover-up, and right now, the air in the Pentagon is thick with the scent of absolute, unadulterated panic. I will reveal the smoking gun, the specific piece of technology the Chinese just activated that the Pentagon is currently trying to classify by the end of this video. But you have to stay with me because if you don't understand the mechanics of what is happening in the Persian Gulf right now, you are going to be blindsided when your bank account stops working 48 hours from now. Close your eyes for a second and try to visualize the situation. It's a humid, salt-heavy afternoon in the Strait. The sky is an eerie, bruised orange, choked with the haze of desert dust and the heavy metallic tang of unburned diesel from 100 idling vessels. Imagine you are a sensor operator on the USS Abraham Lincoln. You're looking at your radar screen, and instead of a clear picture of the maritime traffic, you see nothing but snow. You see streaks of white light. You see ghost signatures, hundreds of them, appearing and disappearing. The sirens are wailing. The general quarters alarm is a rhythmic, mechanical scream that vibrates in your teeth and rattles your ribcage. Your communication lines are dead. You pick up the handset to call the command center, and all you hear is a low-frequency hum that sounds like a million hornets trapped in a glass jar. This is the reality of the electronic warfare suite the Chinese have just activated. In my time in military intelligence, we prepared for theater-level conflicts where the lines were clear. We didn't prepare for a civilian container ship, the Costco Kunlun, to cross the threshold of the Hormuz and effectively turn off the lights of the entire U.S. Navy. The data I am seeing from my sources on the ground indicates that this vessel is not carrying consumer electronics. It is a Trojan horse. It is currently radiating a signal so dense, so sophisticated, that it has created a bubble of digital darkness over 20% of the world's oil supply. Having analyzed theater-level conflicts for decades, I can tell you that this is Wave 55 of Operation True Promise, a coordinated effort to prove that the American military security umbrella is made of wet paper. Stay with me, because the most shocking part of this, the actual payload that triggered the scramble at the National Security Council, is coming in just a moment. Think about the technical specificity of this situation. The U.S. Navy relies on the Aegis combat system. It's a multi-billion-dollar piece of hardware designed to hit a bullet with a bullet using the SM-3 interceptor. But those interceptors are useless if they can't find the target. The Costco Kunlun is utilizing what we call an EW integrated block. These are modular high-energy jamming units hidden inside standard 40-foot shipping containers. These aren't drones. This is high-energy, wide-spectrum interference that targets the very heart of the Navy's cooperative engagement capability. When I look at the telemetry coming out of the region, the Mach 7 signatures we're seeing aren't missiles yet. They're the spoofing footprints of a total system collapse. We are seeing drones that cost $50,000 piece for piece, neutralizing a carrier group that cost $13 billion. The math doesn't work for us anymore. The elites in the Beltway will tell you we have the technological edge. They are lying. They are looking at the same data I am, and they are terrified. Now we have to talk about the escalation. This isn't just a tactical move in a faraway ocean. This started with the U.S. seizing an Iranian ship, a move meant to project strength. Iran reacted by harassing our tankers. That's the script we're used to. But China's intervention is the stress response loop in action. Every 3 minutes, the stakes are rising. We've moved from a maritime dispute to a regional war, and now we are staring down the barrel of a global economic collapse. If that Chinese ship remains in the strait, the price of Brent crude oil doesn't just go up, it teleports. We are talking about $150, $200, $300 a barrel. For you, the American consumer, that means $15 gas at the pump, but it's worse than that. The petrodollar, the very foundation of American prosperity, is tied to the free flow of oil. If the U.S. Navy cannot guarantee the safety of the Strait of Hormuz because a Chinese container ship has vetoed our radar, the Saudi-U.S. security pact is dead. If that pact dies, the dollar ceases to be the world's reserve currency. Your 401k, your savings account, the equity in your home, it's all denominated in a currency that is backed by the belief that we can control that 20-mile stretch of water. 3 minutes ago, that belief was proven to be a fantasy. I will reveal the smoking gun that the Pentagon is hiding by the end of this video, and it relates directly to why they cannot simply sink that ship. The history of these specific weapon systems is a history of American complacency. For 30 years, we focused on stealth. We spent trillions on the F-35 and the B-21. But the Chinese didn't play that game. They focused on passive coherent location and quantum interference. They built a system that doesn't need to be invisible. It just needs to make us blind. The COSCO Kunlun is equipped with the Type 726 upgraded EW variant. It uses cognitive radio technology, meaning it learns our frequencies in real time and mimics them. It's a digital chameleon. It creates a bubble of misinformation that our systems cannot penetrate. In my time in military intelligence, we dreamed of this kind of capability, but we never thought it would be used against us so effectively so soon. I feel a sense of insider pride in being able to bring this to you, but it's tempered by a profound patriotic anger. The grief I feel for our troops is immense. We are sending them into a kill box with outdated doctrine and arrogant leadership. I'm talking about young Marines, men and women who believe they are defending freedom while the elites use them as pawns in a game they've already lost. They are sitting on ships that are currently blind and deaf. Think about that. You're in the middle of the most volatile waterway on Earth, and your screens are blank. You're waiting for a Mach 10 impact from a YJ-21 missile that you won't even see coming. Think about the psychological state of the decision makers in the Pentagon right now. Imagine the war room. It's dimly lit. The large screens are showing signal loss across the Gulf. General officers are shouting over each other, trying to figure out how to explain to the president that the most powerful navy in the history of the world is currently being held at bay by a merchant vessel. They are terrified of the escalation ladder. If they fire on the COSCO Kunlun, they are firing on a Chinese-flagged civilian vessel. That is an act of war against a nuclear power. If they don't, they lose the strait. They are paralyzed, and in that paralysis, the Chinese are cementing their position as the new brokers of the Middle East. Stay with me because I'm about to reveal the specific piece of intelligence that the mainstream media is currently under a D notice not to report. The actual contents of the Kunlun's central hold that makes it unsinkable. Let's look at the logistics. China has been pre-positioning these EW containers in their global merchant fleet for years. It's the string of pearls strategy taken to its logical, terrifying conclusion. While we were focused on nation building in the Hindu Kush, Beijing was hollowing out our manufacturing and building a digital shield. They now have the capability to create no-go zones for the U.S. Navy anywhere in the world where a COSCO ship is docked. This is the end of freedom of navigation. This is the end of the American century. The economic consequences for your bank account are not a maybe. They are a mathematical certainty. When the strait closes, the just-in-time supply chain that brings you everything from medicine to microchip snaps. Your grocery store shelves are 3 days away from being empty. The trucks will stop moving because the gas is too expensive, and the gas will be expensive because the COSCO Kunlun is sitting in the throat of the world. And the elites, the ones who own the gold and the hard assets, they've already prepared for this. They want the chaos because it allows them to implement the Great Reset. They want you desperate, they want you dependent, and they want you focused on the enemy they've chosen for you rather than the ones who actually sold you out. I've analyzed theater-level conflicts for decades, and the signature of this move is clear: it's a pincer. While the world focuses on the noise in Eastern Europe, the real knife is being shoved into our ribs in the Middle East. The U.S. seizure of that Iranian tanker wasn't a show of strength, it was a trap. It was the bait that China used to justify moving the COSCO Kunlun into position. They knew we would react, and they knew that by reacting, we would provide them with the legal cover to move their EW platform into the heart of the conflict zone under the guise of protecting their commercial interests. The technical specificity of the Aegis saturation point is something the public was never supposed to know. Our systems are designed to track 100 targets. The Kunlun is projecting 10,000. It's a distributed denial of service attack, but in physical space. It's digital chaff on a scale never before seen in human history. The Mach 7 signatures we're seeing are the digital ghosts of the DF-27, a missile that can strike a moving carrier from 5,000 miles away. If our sensors can't tell the difference between a ghost and a missile, we have to fire our interceptors at everything. We'll be out of ammo in 30 minutes, and then the real missiles come. Now, for the smoking gun, the thing they said didn't exist. My sources have confirmed that the central cargo hold of the COSCO Kunlun is not carrying electronics. It is carrying a functional quantum interference device, but more importantly, it is carrying humanitarian cargo that is rigged with a dead man's switch. If the ship is hit by a kinetic strike, it will release a chemical marker into the water that will render the Strait of Hormuz impassable for years due to environmental contamination. China has effectively turned a merchant ship into a suicide vest for the global economy. They told the Pentagon, sink us and you sink the world. This is why Trump and the military leadership are paralyzed. This is why the media is silent. They have no move. They seized a ship. They thought they were the big dogs on the block, and China just showed them that the block has a new owner. The reality on the ground is that the U.S. Fifth Fleet is currently a hostage. I want you to understand the gravity of this. This isn't a news story. This is a tectonic shift. I've analyzed theater-level conflicts for decades, and I've never seen a more perfect checkmate. The flickering communication lines between Washington and Beijing are being used for one thing: the negotiation of our surrender. Not a surrender of territory, but a surrender of our status. The elites are currently negotiating how much of your lifestyle they are willing to give up to keep their own power intact. They will tell you it's a temporary sacrifice. They are lying. The smell of cordite and melting copper, that's the smell of the New World Order being born. The orange skies are the warning. The Mach 10 signatures are the countdown. The technical specificity of our defeat is etched into every blank radar screen in the Persian Gulf. I've watched this coming for 20 years. I warned about the overextension of our forces. I warned about the vulnerability of our carrier groups to asymmetric threats. I was called a doomsayer. Well, look at the screen, look at the snow, look at the ghost signatures. Who was right? I feel no joy in this. I feel only a profound sorrow for a nation that has been hollowed out from the inside. What happens to your bank account? Let's do the deep dive. The US dollar is a fiat currency. It's backed by nothing but faith and credit. That faith is enforced by the US Navy. When the Navy is neutralized by a container ship, the credit vanishes. We are looking at a hyperinflationary event that will make the 1930s look like a picnic. If you have $100,000 in the bank and the dollar drops by 50% overnight because the petrodollar has been replaced by a yuan gold peg, you just lost $50,000 without a single shot being fired in your neighborhood. This is the silent war. It's the war for the commanding heights of the global economy, and it's being fought with electronic warfare systems disguised as trade. The unthinkable nuclear scenario is now on the table. Why? Because when a superpower realizes it has been checkmated conventionally, the only move left is to flip the board. There are voices in the Pentagon right now, the hawks who have never seen a drop of blood, who are advocating for a limited nuclear strike to clear the strait. They think they can control the escalation. They are wrong. If we go nuclear, China goes nuclear. If China goes nuclear, the world as we know it ceases to exist. And all of this because we seized an Iranian tanker and China decided to call our bluff. Stay with me because I am monitoring the feeds in real time. I am seeing reports of thermal events near our satellite arrays. The digital shield is expanding. This isn't just about the Gulf anymore. This is about the total blackout of the American intelligence network. They are cooking our circuits from 10 miles away. The Type 726 array is capable of not only jamming, but actually capturing the data link of our drones. We've already lost 3 MQ-9 Reapers in the last hour. They didn't crash. They were hijacked in midair. They are currently being flown to Iranian air bases to be dissected by Chinese technicians. The media will say they suffered a technical glitch. They are lying. Our own tech is being turned against us. You need to prepare. You need to understand that the truth is harsher than anything you'll hear on the news. The elites have already moved their money. They've already hedged against the dollar. They are prepared for the collapse. You are not. They want the chaos because it allows them to implement the ultimate tool for domestic control, a central bank digital currency. When the dollar fails, they will offer you a solution. It will be a digital dollar that they can turn off if you don't follow the rules. This is the real goal of the Great Reset, the smoking gun I promised you. It's the handshake protocol found in the software of our own defense systems, backdoors that were installed through Chinese-made microchips during the last decade of globalization. The Pentagon found them 3 hours ago. They realized that if they try to fire on that Chinese ship, our own systems will be turned against us by a remote signal from Beijing. We aren't just blind, we are owned. The world changed 3 minutes ago. The reality on the ground is that the American century is over. The Aegis saturation is complete. The petrodollar is a memory, and the Hormuz veto is in full effect. I will continue to look at the data that the elites don't want you to see, but for now, know this. The strait is closed, the Aegis is blind, and the dollar is a dead man walking. Stay vigilant. The truth is, the only weapon we have left. Keep your eyes on the shipping trackers. Watch for the Costco Kunlun. When it moves to the center of the strait and drops anchor, that is the end of the game. Get your house in order. The orange skies are here.